of the region present, the utilities of the region present. May I mention them? We have MERA from Malawi, the regulator. We have ARIN from Mozambique as a regulator. We have ESCOM Malawi present here through the CEO. We have the utility, our own ZESCO. We have EDM, and we have utilities, SNEL, coming together. So this is a regional conference, and we want to honor our regional partners that are here today. Your leadership and partnerships are deeply valued. Together, we are advancing a borderless energy future, one where infrastructure investment and innovation flow freely across borders, unlocking prosperity for all. EFA is proud to serve as a regional platform for dialogue, coordination, and continental ambition. We are not just connecting countries, we are connecting visions. And here is to celebrating progress. From vision to impact. We did not see the full video of the impact that has come through from the EFA 2025 in August last year. But here is a recap. Last year's forum was not just a success, it was a springboard. It provided the platform for the Chisamba 100 megawatts power plant financing agreement. Today, that project stands as a symbol of what strategic collaboration can achieve. We proudly recognize the consortiums behind this milestone. ZESCO, KNBE, Africa Green Co, First Quantum Minerals, whose partnerships synergy, and we have all these parties here together, Your Excellency, as sponsors, believing in the vision and going forward. To our platinum sponsors whose unwavering support elevated this forum into a launchpad for real-world solutions. Your contributions are not just appreciated, they are historic. At this point, I would also like to acknowledge the other sponsors that we have. We have platinum sponsors, ZESCO, Stanbic, Petrodex. We have gold sponsors, Lunsemfa Hydro. We have Zambezi River Authority, Kariba North Bank Extension, Africa Green Co, and Copperbelt Energy. We have silver sponsors, Northwestern Energy Corporation, Kafue Gorge Lower, and N-Power. We have bronze sponsors, Axian Energy, FNB Bank, Longi, Canona Power, First Quantum Minerals. We have Stima. We are honored to have Grasha Machel Trust. We have NAPSA. We have Barrick Gold Mine Lumwana. We have session sponsors in Hot Prints. We have IDC, Industrial Development Corporation. We have Zambia Sugar. And we have Nathel Energy Limited. These sponsors have made this conference possible. We may want to applaud them for that. Zambia's rise, a policy and investment destination, and we are looking to the region to be a destination for investment in the energy sector. Zambia has made bold strides in policy and at regulatory level, positioning itself as a magnet for sustainable energy financing, thanks to the government for the progressive policies that we have. Our call to action to cooperating partners from this year, we want to see across the network, across the continent, and even today, to see that you are leading the way in participating in the energy transition. So this year, as EFA, we will also concentrate on visiting a few of our cooperating partners who sponsor some of the projects to see how we can collaborate, strengthening regional collaboration as well as showcasing investments. If you look at last year, we had site visits, one of which is the Chisamba, and we have a success story out of it. We visited the CEC 136 megawatt solar plant together with the task force committee that was formed. We visited KGL 12 megawatts, an environmental flow project. We explored hydropower, because we know that we can still harness that hydropower and then merge with other renewable resources. Across the borders, our networking events in South Africa yielded much fruit. We also had a networking event in Zimbabwe, creating new bridges for collaboration, connecting financiers, developers, and policymakers in vibrant solution-driven exchanges that continue to bear fruit. We are championing homegrown solutions. Africa needs homegrown solutions to enable them to solve their own problem with our own abilities and our own ideas. Let us commit to a future where Africa is not just a market for energy innovation, but a maker for it. And applauding presidential leadership in energy reform. This is in recognition of the visionary leadership at the highest level. We wish to commend His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema for his unwavering commitment to building policy and regulatory framework that is not only robust, but responsive. Under his stewardship, we know Zambia has championed streamlined licensing and permitting processes, incentives for renewable energy developers and financiers. We will discuss this through the ZDA presentation that is scheduled. And then we have strengthened institutional coordination. We will have honorable ministers that will discuss cross-sectoral collaborations after this session. And then we have regional energy integration and cross-border trade. We will witness that once again right here. And then open access, allowing independent power producers to feed into the grid. ZESCO is testament to that, as they mentioned. Net metering, empowering consumers to generate and contribute to electricity generation. These reforms unlock new business models altogether, reduce barriers to entry, and replace power into the hands, and we place power into the hands of the people. So Africa is not only open for business, Africa is open for innovation. Inclusive energy for all. Let us be clear, energy transformation must be inclusive. It must empower women, youth, and entrepreneurs. It must prioritize rural communities and marginalized voices. It must be guided by sustainability, not just in technology, but in governance and in equity. And so to that effect, we have their Royal Highnesses present here who will be speaking, some of whom are developing projects within their villages and their chiefdoms. A future we can build together. Let this forum, the Energy Forum for Africa, EFA 2025, be remembered not only for its discussions, but for its decisions. Your Excellency, we have brought together decision makers. Here we have CEOs, we have financial directors. So we are talking about C-suite decision makers present in this room, gathering together, and we see that decisions will be made during this forum. We have other visitors coming in from Egypt. We have other visitors coming in from across the world. So we see these are all leaders that will make decisions and collaborations. Not only do we recognize EFA for its panels, but for its partnerships, lasting partnerships. Let us live here with deals signed, with projects launched, and renewed commitment to powering Africa, cleanly, inclusively, and boldly. To every delegate, speaker, sponsor, organizers, the EFA Secretariat that have been on hand to make sure that this conference is a success and that this is becoming a regional conference. We thank the visionary team that is behind the organization. I extend my deepest gratitude to you all. Your work is not just technical, it is transformational. Together, let us light up Africa, not just with electricity, but with possibility. Energy Sufficient Zambia 2030, hashtag it is possible. Thank you very much.
Another hand for our engineer. Thank you so much. Mr. President, I will now invite the CEO of Mission 300. This is Mr. Andy Heskowitz to give us his remarks. A hand for her as he comes on stage.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, honorable ministers, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished members of the business community, all protocols observed. I'm really thrilled to be here today as the CEO of the Mission 300 Accelerator. And the reason I emphasize accelerator is that everybody in this room is an accelerator to make sure that we achieve the goals of Mission 300. And the number one accelerator in Zambia is His Excellency. I used to be the coordinator for Power Africa, and this isn't my first time in Zambia. We were part of helping the first large-scale solar projects get across the finish line. I worked at the Development Finance Corporation as well and watched while power projects were stalled all across the continent while we were financing projects in India. And my observation being back here in Zambia is that things have changed. I feel very, very hopeful about the progress that Mission 300 and the government of Zambia is going to make, not just in the on-grid space. And I heard stories from friends of mine telling me that they had PPAs that had been signed after they had been working on them for 8 years. And a special praise to Anna Hadyuka and Africa Green Co. We first met 11 years ago when Africa Green Co. was just an idea, and I thought it was a crazy idea, but I thought she was brilliant. And I said, if she can pull this off, it may change the continent. And I had a chance to spend time with her company yesterday and see how much they're changing Zambia and creating a model for the rest of the continent as well to help reduce risk and really make sure that power generation can move forward. But in speaking with the President this morning, what I really greatly appreciate is his commitment to making sure that nobody gets left behind, that it's not just about the large-scale generation and driving economic growth and driving manufacturing, which we all agree is critical because Mission 300 is 100% about jobs, jobs, and jobs, and making sure that energy is not a constraint to the rapid growth that this continent is going to be experiencing this century. But we can't forget about the people who simply can't afford electricity. But there are different business models today than there were 11 years ago when we launched Power Africa. I think back to that time, Power Africa took 11 years to help 200 million people in Africa get access to electricity, but a lot of that was Pico Solar. And we've learned a lot. We have a lot of the same people who've learned so much within African governments getting together again and trying to figure out how we're going to solve this problem, looking at what works in the mini-grid industry and what does not work in the mini-grid industry. So I was really honored when the Rockefeller Foundation invited me to come back into the game and reunite with friends at the World Bank and the African Development Bank, which are in the lead of Mission 300, a strong commitment to bring electricity to 300 million Africans by 2030. A goal that not only can we achieve, because there's an actual pipeline of projects that if we keep them on track, if we accelerate them, we will achieve those goals, but I think we can exceed that goal as well. Already the Rockefeller Foundation, working closely with Sustainable Energy for All and the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, which are the supporting partners of Mission 300, we've already committed $50 to $100 million to really serve as the glue and the grease to fill the gaps that the public sector and that the banks can't fill. We put $10 million into technical assistance, some of which we're doing here in Zambia right now. We're working on upgrading the Electricity Act and the mini-grid framework. We're working on making sure that governments have the human resources that they need to live up to the commitments that they made in their national energy compacts. A series of reforms that look at including what can we do to make sure that we can drive private investment into the country. So we've been working very closely with the ministries to set up a compact delivery and monitoring unit and amongst the partners to make sure that there's adequate staffing. We're also realizing that we need to give the mini-grid companies an opportunity to scale rapidly. So he put $10 million into a $300 million facility that the IFC is creating. That's goal is to try to support the rapid scaling of off-grid energy companies, particularly in the mini-grid space. So they can roll out more than 5 or 10 mini-grids a year, so they can do less expensive procurement, and they can be rolling out hundreds, if not thousands, of mini-grids a year. The IPPs are moving. You've got a strong commitment from your head of state and everyone that we've met with this week to make sure that we make significant progress in the off-grid space. Zambia is a model for the rest of the continent. When I leave here and people say to me, where should I be investing? My first response, 100% is going to be Zambia. I'm really encouraged by what we're seeing here, and you have a strong commitment from the Rockefeller Foundation and all the Mission 300 partners to continue to try to accelerate the progress that we see here. But I just want everyone in this room to remember, you are the accelerators. You're the ones that need to make sure that a process takes a week instead of a month instead of 6 months. And we all need to do everything that we can to make sure that we can not just achieve the goals of the Zambia Compact, but achieve the goals across the continent of Mission 300. Thank you.
Can we just give him another hand? Thank you very much, sir. Mr. President, for now, we would like you to relax a bit, so we're going to some entertainment, and I will invite Blackbeth to just give us a poem. Blackbeth?
What is energy? Primary school science says energy is the ability to do work. Ability. The quality or state of being able. And work is the effort directed towards producing a result. So then, would it be correct to assume that energy is our enabler of purpose?
Or maybe it's the hope. Where potential is buried, where potential is written in the soil that bears of the future, the energy that lies underneath it. It's in the borderless wide sky, the sun above us, covering mountains that stand tall and menaced. It's in the strong wind that blows us across intangible lines of energy poverty to energy sufficiency.
It is solutions that light us above to hold power. Windmills that never go new but continue to grow louder. Hands that become conduits of power. Establishing power plants with every hand that joins in unity.
So, energy isn't just an enabler of purpose. It's not just the ability to do work. And that is why we should not always look at the book to define who we are. So then, what does energy mean to Africa? Could it be the barbershop at the corner that retains more loyalty than some marriages? Sorry, I digress. Could it be the farmer who simply wants to keep his farm produce fresh?
It is life to study in a one-bedroom house. A lifeline for a welder to pay back a businessman. The ability to answer a job interview on your phone. The capacity to pitch ideas without.
The mobile subscriber you have dialed is either outside the coverage area or has their phone switched off. Please try it later.
It's the industries, products, people, and payroll. It's the fragilized and hospital. It's the grease that wheels our economies. It's the profits. It's the market worth billions of dollars, and you can imagine what that can do for us. That's why energy is not a privilege, but a necessity.
Energy is not a privilege, but a necessity. And that is why we must call to the wind, call to the sun. Let the universe harness the energy that has always been stored in Africa. And yes, there will be gaps, but gaps that we must fill. For others might see load shedding, we must see load provision of the growing desire for energy. We must see the opportunity that exists, and with great and incredible leadership, visionary leaders who are able to drive African policy towards African potential.
Go exists.
We are the power.
South
One voice,
Lengo
One goal.
planting seeds of sustainable energy across the sands of the Sahara to the waters of the Zambezi. Did you know that less than 10% of rural households in sub-Saharan Africa have access to electricity? Crisis. If crisis was an opportunity, we are in it. So let's build, let's move in every home, bringing connectivity from city offices to the village garden.
and that is why many as a purpose to Africa or Zambia being landlocked, or maybe we should actually call it landlocked, because in a world of collaboration, Zambia might be deemed as land free, like Kenneth Kaunda. This is liberation of the young African generation whose demand for power grows every passing second. Every passing second miss is a passing opportunity and a passing profit, passing potential impact.
Like the mighty Zambezi flowing from the small beginnings of the Kalenge district, braving terrains through 6 countries, touching everything and giving life to whatever it touches. You see, the story of the Zambezi River is a story of Africa. A blueprint of partnership, a symbol of connectivity through sustainable renewable energy, with a straight line relationship between governments and investors, where it's not about what the governments can do for the people, but what you can do for and with the government in achieving our purpose.
Me,
You,
Us,
together, me,
will,
cease,
Pamoja, moving towards sustainable energy. Companies, investors, business people, moving shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand. We are the energy we need to command.
So maybe, Mr. President, all here that this could be the time to invest in energy.
No.
Okay. Maybe this is the time to invest in Africa's purpose. The time is now.
Thank you.
Another hand for the Blackbird. Indeed, energy is not a privilege, but a necessity. I will now call upon the Honorable Minister of Electricity and Energy of the Republic of Botswana, and this is Honorable Bogolo Joy Kenewendo. I hope I pronounced it correctly, Mom. Can we just give her a hand as she walks on stage? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. Mr. President, Your Excellency Hichilema, thank you very much for having us here. And of course, my dearest colleagues, thank you for hosting us. And I would like to stand on existing protocol. Let me first start off by correcting. My name is Boholo Joy Kinewendo. And as it so happens, Mr. President, my last name originates here. And I am hoping that it would be better pronounced here than it is at home. I feel like my name, because of its origins here, certainly it makes me feel at home here. Then I am also the Minister of Minerals and Energy from Botswana, and I wish to start off by sending the special regards from President Duma Gideon Boko, who was just here and promised that I will return, I will be hot on his wheels to share some of the commitments and the developments that have happened since his state visit. Mr. President, colleagues here today, we have heard the background of the needs of the continent. We have heard the partnerships that emanate in order for us to meet these demands and the needs in the continent. And earlier in the year, during Mission 300 Africa Energy Summit that was held in Dar es Salaam, our heads of states, they made commitments, and ourselves as their ministers made commitments to ensure that we bring energy to many of African citizens, but also to stimulate industry. We shared the reforms that need to happen, those that we've already started, in order to accelerate energy generation, to ensure that we're getting to a universal access, but most importantly, that there is affordability that is associated with energy in the continent. And what this required is a cooperation between ourselves and government, together with the private sector, and with those in civil society and non-profit making organizations. Under the Dar es Salaam Energy Declaration, African governments, including ourselves, made commitments to important sector reforms that are being implemented through what is termed energy compacts with the support of the World Bank Group and the AFDB. In Botswana, we are pleased to share that we worked on our energy compact and we presented it to Cabinet, and it has since passed. The compact, and therefore our mandate, together with several of my colleagues, are to ensure that we work on last mile access, capacity expansion, cost reduction, regional integration and power trade, private sector participation, and most importantly, for our utilities, financially viable and operational competent utilities. And it is imperative that as we do this, we undertake the following: that we accelerate the pace towards universal access to electricity, that we accelerate the pace towards universal access to clean cooking solutions, that we enhance energy security by scaling up renewable energy and other sources, and that we ensure the implementation and progress of the energy compacts that are monitored, and to Mr. President's point earlier, that there is full implementation and frameworks of work plans that ensure that we succeed at these challenges. Now, most importantly, when our presidents met earlier in the year, last month, they agreed that we need to trade amongst ourselves. They agreed that we need to share generation capacities, we need to share markets, we share industries, because energy does not have a border. And I am pleased to report that with my colleague, we have been able together with our teams, to conclude on the works that the presidents had agreed. And we will therefore look forward to signing an MOU towards both power generation and infrastructure that will enable our shared trading capacities. I wish to thank the leadership of both presidents. This MOU has taken many years. It has been kicked down the years, and with their leadership, we are able today to say that we are concluding, and with the challenges that they've put ahead of us, that we will take this forward, we will implement, and we will ensure that we are bringing universal energy access across the two countries. And for that, I thank them, and I thank our colleagues, and I look forward to a shared, bright, light future between Botswana and Zambia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. At this point, Mr. President, I will now invite the Honorable Minister of Energy in our country, Zambia, and this is Honorable Makosa Shikote, MP, to give us his remarks and call upon our guest of honor. Can we give him a hand as he comes? Okay. The Minister for Mozambique is here, so he's speaking. Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, distinguished ministers, development partners, private sector representatives, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. It's a great honor to be with you at the opening of this Energy Forum for Africa conference. I thank the government of Zambia for their warm hospitality and commend the organizers for convening this important event. Energy sufficiency is at the heart of Africa industrialization and integration. No country can achieve it alone. Only through collaboration can we secure reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy for all our citizens. Mozambique has made great progress. In 2019, only 30% of the people had access to electricity. Today, access has doubled to 62%. Last year alone, we delivered over 500,000 of new connections, both on and off grid. Our ambition is to have universal access by 2030. To achieve this, we adopted the National Electrification Strategy in 2018. In 2023, we adopted the Energy Transition Strategy. Both these strategies set three objectives: universal access to affordable and reliable energy, position Mozambique as a regional hub, and contributing to local decarbonization through clean energy and green products. These strategies are now consolidated to the National Energy Compact with the aim to mobilize over $18 billion to accelerate electrification, expand clean cooking, and modernize transmission and implement urgent reforms. This compact will be the instrument to bring public, private, and philanthropic financing together. At the same time, Mozambique has advanced key reforms to attract private investment. The electricity law of 2002 22 is being implemented with the 2 regulations in their final approval stage. The concession regulation, which sets a clear legal regime for private participation across the energy value chain, and the universal access levy, which will secure sustainable funding for last-mile connections. We have also approved off-grid regulations that sets the legal framework for private sector participation and off-grid electrification plan, which defines priority zones for mid-grids. With the support of international donors and development financial institutions, we are running financing windows for private developers of mini-grids and solar home systems. We are fully aware of the importance of planning to deliver resilient and sustainable infrastructure. To this regard, we are in the process of creating the integrated planning and coordinating unit at the Ministry, which will lead the implementation of the Energy Compact. Excellencies, Mozambique is ready to work hand in hand with our neighbors, partners, philanthropies and private sector. Together, we can transform our abundant renewable resources into engines for industrialization, regional integration, and shared prosperity for Africa. We thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, sir, we have Her Excellency, the High Commissioner from the British High Commissioner to Zambia, Ms. Rebecca Tezion, and she is here to give us her remarks. Can we just encourage her with a hand as she comes to the stage?
Your Excellency, Mr. President, Honourable Minister of Energy, Honourable Ministers from Mozambique and Botswana, allow me to rest on previous protocols observed. It's a privilege to address this esteemed gathering. I hardly need to underscore here the critical importance of energy to this audience. The United Kingdom stands firmly alongside the government of Zambia as it takes bold and determined steps to reform the power sector and accelerate investment in new generation, underpinned by Zambia's integrated resource plan and the M300 Compact, which, Mr. President, you signed in Dar es Salaam in January this year. The UK-Zambia partnership is delivering transformative electricity market reforms, which means greater investor confidence, strengthened public services, and wider and more equitable access to electricity, bringing business opportunities, services, stability, and security. Through targeted UK-funded technical assistance delivered by CIG Zambia and others, we are working with the government and private sector to sustainably procure and trade electricity. Zambia's power sector reforms, anchored in the open access mechanism and the creation of an independent system and market operator for the grid, are laying the foundation for a transparent, rules-based electricity market. By replacing case-by-case decisions with clear processes for grid access, capacity allocation, implementation and payment, Zambia is deconflicting stakeholder incentives in the transmission sector and paving the way for inclusive growth. These reforms are already bearing fruit by signalling an attractive investment market and one that is open to trading regionally. We have, of course, honourable ministers from Mozambique and Botswana here, and we've seen a growth in energy trading. With UK seed funding, Africa Green Co, who's already been referenced several times this morning, has emerged as one of the region's most innovative power trading companies. And we're seeing new private generation capacity coming online, even this year. I'll give as an example UK firm Solar Century Africa, as highlighted already by Petrodex. In collaboration with ZESCO, Solar Century Africa electrified their 25-megawatt Milo Phase 1 project in July, going from concept to production in just 18 months. They're set to bring an additional 90 megawatts online within the next year, totaling nearly $100 million of private investment. Another example, Globelec, owned by British International Investment and Norway's Norfund, is leading the development of over 400 megawatts of solar and wind projects in Zambia. In June, Globelec signed a share purchase agreement to acquire a majority stake in the Lunsemfwa hydropower company, which owns and produces 56 megawatts of hydro generation. This month, they will break new ground on a new 27-megawatt solar project at Lunsemfwa, another milestone in Zambia's renewable energy journey. As generation expands, the next frontier is unlocking investment in grid infrastructure, especially to accommodate variable renewable energy. Transparent pricing and innovative financing models for grid transmission and distribution are essential to attract private capital to a sector that has traditionally been government funded. Gridworks Development Partners, owned by British International Investment, are supporting the Anzana Electric Group, a joint venture with ZESCO, to deliver first-time grid connections to 40,000 households in northwestern province over the next 2 years. Anzana's ambition is to reach 300,000 households by 2030 through mobilising a blend of commercial and concessional capital. That's rural electrification, inclusive electricity provision happening as we speak. Across the UK's investment and technical assistance portfolio, we're working hand in glove with the Government of Zambia to implement Zambia's integrated resource plan for the power sector, which sets out the nation's power needs up to 2030. Our shared aim is to bring additional megawatts to the grid, safeguard the financial viability of the public utility, ZESCO, and support a transparent, competitive environment that enables responsible private sector investment in the sector. Together, we're lighting the path to a more resilient, inclusive and sustainable energy future for Zambia, essential for growth and development with Zambia, which Zambia and the Zambian people, the region and its partners all stand to benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another hand for Her Excellency, the British High Commissioner to Zambia. Mr. President, sir, I will now invite the Minister of Energy, Honourable Makozo Chikota, MP, to give us his remarks and thereafter call upon the guest of honour. Honourable sir, can we give him a hand as he walks in, please?
The guest of honor, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, Cabinet Ministers, Honorable Tamba Tamba, and Madam Sheo Muliata, who are present. My dearest colleagues who have made it to come and support this forum, the Minister of Minerals and Energy, Madam Vukolo Kanwendo. Where I come from, I would just say she is Vukolo. In Mbunda, I would just say direct is Vukolo. So, Mr. President, I want to believe that he comes from the Mbunda people in Northwestern. Also, I want to recognize my colleague, the Minister of Mineral Resources and Electricity in Mozambique, Ms. Honorable Evesto Pale. Thank you very much for making it to this forum. I want also to recognize the Vice President for Rockefeller Foundation. I also want to take this opportunity to recognize members of the diplomatic corps that are present, our senior government officials, leaders of industry, our development partners, non-governmental organizations, also our dear colleagues who makes our information, our people to be informed, members of press, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome you all to the second edition of the Energy Forum for Africa Conference. As you have heard from the different speakers, this is our second edition. And in all their submission, we need now to focus on walking the talk. I'm sure we have identified problems that are facing the sector, the energy sector, and it's time now to provide solutions. Mr. President, solutions are here. The decision makers are here. So all we need to do is to expedite in the implementation of our decision. Mr. President, this gathering also builds on the strong foundation laid by the Energy Forum for Africa last year, 2024, which brought together leading industry players, innovators, policymakers, and development partners. I am pleased today to note that last year's forum was not just and unlock it to lead Africa's energy systems. Mr. President, and we will continue to implement your good policies that are already attracting investment and yielding positive results. Distinguished delegates, as a country, we are in the right trajectory. All now we are focusing on is to make sure that our projects have timeline. We have to beat the timeline. To implement this project, Energy Forum for Africa is a catalyst not only to reflect up with for Africa, as we deliver to ensure that opportunities for our people. This is very important for us, all of us leaders seated here, all the players. This is where our focus should be. Mr. President, we can have solutions for the energy sector. The region achieve the Republican President to address us. Mr. President, it's your time.
Thank you. You may take your seats, please. Thank you very much. Minister of Energy, our Minister of Energy, and your colleagues from Mozambique, Botswana, other ministers, cabinet ministers in our country, and provincial minister, let me acknowledge the foreign dignitaries that are here, obviously Rockefeller Foundation colleagues, Mission 300, our colleagues, British High Commissioner, who is seated with us upstairs, and your other ambassadors and the High Commissioners accredited to Zambia. I see a number of you here. We're delighted to see you at this forum, because this forum is important to all of us on the continent. Very, very important. I must also truly acknowledge someone I'm now calling Lady Hope Chanda. Lady Hope Chanda, for the work she's doing to pull this forum together last year and now this year. Thank you, Hope, for what you're doing. And I've been having pep talks with her that we must get this thing done. We must get the job done. And as she gathers us and her colleagues gathers us here, our focus is to get the job done. So, because the need is there, and I'll touch on that just a little bit. Our traditional leaders that are present, our ministers here, and other public sector workers, central government, local government, indeed, leaders of industry, business. I see some mining houses here, which is very important, and that's where a lot of the demand point is coming from for electricity, and rightly so. So thank you for being here, and also Stanbic and your financial sector colleagues. You did not let the president down. Since last year, you've worked and delivered on what we discussed. I want to thank the leadership of the utilities ZESCO. Upstairs, we were chatting about what ZESCO was just a few years ago and what it is today after the reforms, or as we implement the reforms. And I will touch on that, which is extremely important to why we're here today. So ZESCO, thank you for opening up. You had to open up anyway, otherwise it was difficult for you to continue. But it is our asset, that's our business as a country. And I'm glad that your other utility colleagues are here in the hall, because there's a lot we need to do together in the region if we have to address this problem in a definitive way. Very important. I must also acknowledge, obviously, the other sectors that are here, partners, cooperating partners, indeed the press, members of the press, esteemed delegates. Let me start by welcoming you here. Join my colleagues to welcome you to Lusaka, to Zambia, especially those of you who are traveling from outside Zambia, led by our two ministers from Mozambique, Botswana. We're delighted to have you here, truly delighted to have you here at our second shot at this discussion. And I must quickly thank Hope Chand and your colleagues again for organizing this forum. Obviously, you are building your consistency now in doing that. So thank you very much. A lot has been said. I don't want to repeat what has already been articulated by my colleagues who have spoken before me, and they've all spoken well and emphasized different things which are all important to why we're here. But just to indicate that since last year's forum here, a lot has been done in many areas. As a country, we've continued with the reforms in the electricity subsector. And these reforms are fundamental to the agenda that we are here for, universal access to electricity. All our people, yes, Mission 300 is important, but upstairs I indicated to my colleague, the CEO of Mission 300, that can we change the narrative? Mission 300 is making electricity available to 300 million Africans. But the population of Africa is well above 1.3, north of 1.3, 1.5 billion people. So this agenda is too narrow. We need to focus on universal access to electricity for all our people on the continent. That, I think, is important. We must raise our ambitions, and necessarily so. Who is that African who will accept not to be part of the target for them to receive electricity? How are we going to discriminate? These ones must not receive electricity, these ones must receive electricity. I think our citizens of the continent will not accept to be in the second or third category. So my encouragement is that we must focus on universal access to electricity. And that brings obvious economic benefits. Electricity, the engine of our economic growth and more growth agenda for us in Zambia. That's our trajectory. We've got to drive economic growth and more growth. It is that which will deliver social growth, benefits in the social economic sectors, in the community support for the weak, for those that require support. But electricity lagging behind, the shortages that we have for historical reasons, in some cases, one that because we've been a mono-energy economy, hydro largely, and the drought, especially the last drought, Western living memory, decapitated us terribly. And the horns were sounded that we've been exposed, even though we were happy that we were already a green economy in terms of energy country. But the exposure has been glaring, so we need to address that issue expeditiously. But also, another good story that even many Zambians are not paying attention. The gap, you can say, shortage of electricity may have been like that because of the drought, which we have to address. But the gap is growing now because the economy is growing, which means the demand for electricity is growing. So we have to work harder. We have to work faster. We have to mobilize resources quicker than ever before. And I'll be talking about the price of investable resources. We've been paying too much. Everybody knows I'm going to touch this thing. I cannot leave it untouched. The price of capital for our continent has been discriminatory, too high. Some sector, some business, Africa pays more than anyone else in the world. That is not correct. That's actually part of the inhibition to our growing the energy sector. We need to address those issues. So, but back to reforms. The government here will continue working on the reforms. Open access. Independent power producers, which was taboo to talk about a few years ago in this country. You talked of electricity, it was ESCO. Anything else, you are in the wrong room if you raise a matter like that. For my sins of the past, in my private sector days, two of my colleagues and I tried to invest in energy, and we were whipped like small boys because you are not allowed to do that. Today, the reforms are making it possible, and we'll continue with those reforms to support the agenda for universal access to electricity for Africans, for the world, I must say, citizens of the world. So, independent power producers, independent traders, net metering. So it's already been touched. I'm just emphasizing Power blending. I haven't heard someone say that. Part of our reforms is to blend the power. There will be some expensive sources. Zambians know what I'm talking about. One of the sources will be generating power at 33 cents per kilowatt hour. It's pretty high. But if we produce then power, certain sources at 7 cents, 8 cents per kilowatt hour, because the demand is there, we can blend these two and make power affordable to the consumer so that they can contribute to the provision of electricity for our economic needs. These are all part of the reforms. And I'm here to say that the government will continue with industry players working on these reforms, including dropping down to legislation. Not regulation. The vision is clear, but the reforms, but then dropping down to follow these reforms to the legislative level next door in Parliament. I think one of my colleagues mentioned about Electricity Act. That's only one tiny part, but the whole legislative framework is being reviewed to support the reforms. And regulations. Laws, regulations. Let me give you an example to put context to what I'm saying. Before we took office 4 years ago, you wanted to invest in 20 megawatts of power. That time, it maybe cost you, if it's solar, roughly $20 million. 1 to 1. 1 megawatt to $1 million. But you had to get the environmental assessment under ZEMA. To walk through that, you needed 25 months to get a situation. Is that now you can get your approval on an assumption of presumptive approval. Presumptive approval. At least 48 hours, you get your approval. Now look at the difference, 25 months and 48 hours. If it's not happening, I want to hear participants in this forum to raise the flag so we can approval. This is not a way we can develop, expand electricity. One market, we need to harmonize. And there are things that you're doing in your market which we are not doing here. We would like to learn from you. And this is the opportunity to exchange notes so that we can also checklist those things and deal with them in an organized, intentional manner. That's my challenge. I throw out the workshop forum here. So reforms are important. If we didn't inject these reforms in the electric sector with a drought of last year, we would have never achieved growth in the economy because it wasn't just possible to continue operations in certain mines, in certain factories, and indeed agriculture, irrigation. So I make the shout there. But in terms of deliverables, beyond the reforms, I think quite a bit has been done. You heard the story of the 100 megawatts in Chisamba solar. And the parties are congratulated. ZESCO subsidiary, ZESCO, financing, Stanbic. And this was organized and delivered within 10 months. Ordinarily in this country, that project, just with the ZEMA approvals alone, would have taken 2 years to 3 years. Now we're able to do it in 10 months. I think we need to acknowledge the improvements that we're making, but still we can do a lot more. I threw 2 challenges when I went to officiate at Chisamba 100 megawatts. One, I made an observation that we paid too much. We paid $100 million for 100 megawatts. That was the price of 3-4 years ago. We should take advantage of the research and development, the benefits coming from lowering the cost of solar, from $1 million per megawatt to $700,000 per megawatt, now to between around $650,000 for 1 megawatt. We would like to see that to come through, Madam Hope and all the players here, in our costings of the projects. I am personally sensitive to the price we pay for anything that we do. And then it means in $100 million, we can do more. We can generate more power. I raised it there. Second thing I said, we could do 100 megawatts in 7 months and not 10 months. That's another challenge I'm throwing to the colleagues in this hall. So, other things have been touched. Let me simply say to the global community, investment community, Africa is coming to the table with viable projects in the energy sector. Africa is not asking for philanthropy in this sector. It's asking for investable resources coming at a fair price, and you are assured of a commercial return. You are assured of satisfying your shareholders' expectations. Because for us in Zambia, with our trajectory of 3 million tons of copper, only copper, and knocking at the doors of 1 million tons this year, first time in history, it means more energy. There's Anton seated there. He's looking for more power. Come and work with us on the continent. JV with us. And your shareholders' money is safe. Because Anton is the ultimate customer for the power generated, traded, transmitted through the open access to his mine, which he is expanding big time. Super pit. $2 billion of investment is going on in Lumwana mine alone to open a super pit. It's all energy required. And he will be able to pay. You cannot get better projects than that, which are tied to the revenue source through a medium to longer term contract. 5 years, 10 years, power purchase agreement. This is what Africa is presenting to the global investment community. And the tickets are quite good. We are looking at, in a couple of years, 10 or so years, to get to 10 gigawatts, 10,000 megawatts. By any standards, 10 gigawatts is not collectively a small project. Indian High Commissioner. Great opportunities. My colleague from Egypt here, we've been talking specific projects. This is a time to get those colleagues I met at the Zambia-Egypt Business Forum in Cairo. There is a pipeline. It's there. There is the demand. Effective demand. Not potential demand, effective demand. The two are different. Demand that will pay. And in this country, colleagues, probably it's the only country in the region which has no exchange controls. Our foreign exchange mechanisms, we have not been promoting a lot. We have no exchange controls. You bring in capital, you make your money, you pay your taxes, you repatriate your profits to your shareholders. I would like this to be part of the selling point that should also help us lower the cost when the capital is availed. I hope I'm talking to somebody. So now, let's do the business. Small, medium-sized projects, large-scale projects. With our reforms, nothing stands in the way. Take account of the technology improvements I've talked about. We generate more. But with the ticket we're talking about, 10 gigawatts, we have a lot of work to do. But it's a good space to be in because we have good business we are presenting as Zambia, as Botswana, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, region, and the continent put together. More importantly, your market is not restricted to Zambia when you generate. Your market is now the region. For example, our Southern African power pool, that's your market. Generate here, but you sell into the region. That is why in the region, colleagues, my 2 ministers, 3 ministers there, we should talk opening up the roads for electricity, interconnectors. Get the interconnectors going. We don't have to wait. Zambia, Tanzania interconnect will allow us to join the 2 markets, Southern African power pool and Eastern African power pool. That interconnect. I think if you are profiling projects, that is an important consideration. By return on your investment, by the size of the market. Two-way trading. Last year, Tanzania had an excess. We were in deficit because of the drought. They couldn't sell power to us. Just next door, Nakonde and Mbeya. They couldn't sell the power to us just because we have not invested in interconnect. I think these are the rigidities that we've had as countries, individual countries, and the region. And we who are political leaders now are critical to open up these opportunities and drop these to our ministers. And I heard, Minister Botswana, what you said. And thank you for the MOU that we've signed. I think we need to clap for Botswana and Zambia. And President Boko and I, when he paid us a state visit, we said, my brother, this is one of our priorities. And it's been in ice for many years. Colleagues before us just never looked at it. The 2 of us said, this is our priority. And the MOU will be signed today. It's great progress. But now the work starts. So Tanzania, Zambia, Botswana, Zambia interconnector, Mozambique. I was chatting to my colleague there. I just sent a message to President Chapo 2 days ago. And I was whispering to him that the president will pass a message to you over this subject. And the minister said he's already working on it because the president has passed the message to him. That's the kind of stuff we want to see going forward. So Mozambique, Zambia interconnector, Malawi, Zambia interconnector, Angola, Zambia interconnector, big project by any standards. We expect conversations around these transactions so we can generate in country, in the region, including making sure with restrictions. This is what these ministers and the regulators, I'm very happy that the regulators are here. Quickly, you need to sit down in a corner here and open up these roads, these interconnectors, and we develop more. Even expansion, because our Namibia, Zambia interconnector is too small. Our Zambia, Zimbabwe interconnector can carry up to 300, up to 600, thereabout. Don't worry about my figure may be wrong, plus or minus a few megawatts. It's not the issue. The message is that we need to make sure that the infra must include in your discussion. Now, irrigation, agriculture, our capacity to assure food security for our countries and our region. God, we have water, we need to harvest it, we need to irrigate, we need technology there, but ultimately we need power to irrigate. I guess the message is delivered, colleagues. So let me close by saying we would like to see a checklist of deliverables, specific deliverables by the time you close this forum in different levels, different areas. Reforms, associated things in there, generation site, transmission in country, transmission across countries, interconnectors. By the way, these boundaries we have with the ministers, how did that happen? To the splitting, we need after our meeting, working on presters, which, as I said, on the day that opened. God bless.
For reminders, and he has also encouraged us to invest in energy, and that the market is not only for Zambia